Even from my army cot, even from my captivity and torture, even after being given weapons-grade nerve gas intravenously, I immediately took charge of our escape from the hospital. "Open up with the 50 calibers," I ordered as the wind blew my prisoner of war uniform up around my head. "Call in air support." The attack vehicles of the police, CIA, NASA, and Area 51 were closing in fast, but I was still tied to the stretcher, and the floppy prisoner of war gown was blowing up over my head and obscuring my vision. How was I to lead unless I had a full view of the battle situation and maintained full control of my battle assets? "Tripper," I ordered over the roar of the wind, "cut me loose from this cot and hand me a Thompson machine gun." "We don't have any Thompson machine guns on the truck," replied Tripper as he cut me loose from the cot. "Well, I won't quibble," I answered as I took a command position standing in the bed of the truck and looking over the cab. "Give me whatever machine gun we have." "Sir," replied Tripper, "the only weapon we have is my crossbow, and this morning I dropped all of my arrows down a storm drain. I was about to retrieve them." "As you were," I screamed. "I don't need to listen to long stories and excuses midway in an intense battle with the enemy." Larry was driving and Ranger Dan was riding shotgun. Tripper, Jake, and I were riding in the bed of the truck and being slammed from side to side as Larry escaped roadblocks, ambushes, tire spikes, minefields, and anti-tank missiles. At one point, Larry smashed the truck into the main entrance of the Mitchell Mall and then driving down the main mall corridor, turning at the food court rotunda, and finally emerging at an abandoned Sears's anchor store. "Fall out," I ordered. "Set up a perimeter. This will be a last stand." In the confusion, nobody heard my orders, and Larry and Ranger Dan were able to find an escape route out of the Sears store and up a gravel path that led to a water tower and antenna tower. "Exit the area," I ordered. "The CIA will use that tower to shut down the engine in our vehicle and fry our brains." I saw Ranger Dan point in the direction of a dirt road leading to a steep descent into a canyon between two rocky hilltops. The dirt road became rocky and then turned sandy as we emerged in a creek bed half filled with water. I heard us bog down, and within moments we were stuck in the sandy creek. Tripper, Jake, and Ranger Dan leaped out of the truck and began pushing, with Larry driving and me in charge of the operation. We finally escaped the creek and were on firm ground, but the engine of the truck had been submerged in water and it wouldn't start. The men continued to push the truck uphill until we reached a small rise in another sandy road. Looking over the crest of the hill, I could see that the road was heading downhill. "Get back in and put her in gear, Larry," I ordered, as I wondered to myself how helpless these recruits would be without my firm and fair leadership. Smoke and steam boiled up from Larry's old truck as we began to pick up speed down the sand road hill. I heard gunshots and cannon fire slamming into the truck as we reached 100 miles per hour down the hill. "Incoming!" I bellowed as I took shelter behind the truck cab. "Boss," interjected Jake, in the gullible way only an untrained recruit could understand the situation, "I don't think those are incoming fire. Rather, the noise is the truck backfiring." Again, risking my life and disregarding the incoming fire, I again stood up behind the truck cab to direct the operation. "Quick! Down that road!" I ordered, tapping Ranger Dan on the shoulder and gesturing wildly. "To Fortress Clyde. We shall establish our defensive line and plan for a counterattack." However, Larry didn't get my orders, apparently, as he took another fork in the road that led up a steep hill. The road was potholed and nearly impassable. Now I had to realign my strategy, as I was counting on the booby traps, the minefields, and the weapons stashes at Fortress Clyde. How were we to withstand, even for a few days, the onslaught of well-armed NASA stormtroopers without the help of a common law militia and the rock fortress defending the Republic of Clyde? Perhaps if we could hold out for a week or so, Ranger Dan could reform his Republic of Clyde militia and they could break the siege and force negotiations. But my planning was cut short as we drove into a cleared area with an Airstream trailer parked next to the tree line. "What is going on?" I stammered as we came to a stop. "This area is totally unsecured. Fortress Clyde is our only hope." I was about to get a strategic, logistical, and tactical shock that would have crippled the will of a lesser leader. Ranger Dan got out of the passenger side seat and stood next to the truck bed. "Fortress Clyde is just over the hill there," said Ranger Dan, with his head held low and struggling to find the courage to speak. "The fortress doesn't have booby traps or minefields or even any working weapons. I keep my still down there. The fortress is just for show. My militia left me 10 years ago, and I live here alone in my trailer. I was shocked, of course. I had noted before that the fortress was in bad repair, the weapons were rusty, and that the tank and APC were inoperable, but I had not counted on a total lie. But a good commander must adapt and overcome modifying tactics to meet changing facts on the ground, and that ground now included 2 missions, advancing on the ice wall and defending against a determined advancing adversary. I called the troops together for team strategy meeting on the roof of the so-called Fortress Clyde. Men, I opened up quietly, 2 days ago I gave you all assignments for our attack on the entrance to the Underdome expedition. Has everything been completed, and when do you anticipate jump-off? Ranger Dan spoke up. Nobody in town had 5-inch howitzers for sale, and the gun shop guy told me that napalm, poison gas, flamethrowers, and nuclear weapons were all illegal. I asked about machine guns and anti-tank weapons, but these are all back-ordered, and you have to fill out a 2-page form to get them delivered to your door. Then Larry Berry spoke up. No joy on finding a World War II Marine Dakota transport, and no joy at all at finding anyone to drop 5 untrained parachutists into a forest. Something about rules or common sense, I think the guy said. I was crushed with disappointment that transcended anger, which melted out the center of my brain. I could hardly find the words I needed to ensure we weren't forced to retreat in our missions, to say nothing about the likelihood of moving our missions forward. So we have no weapons, no pre-invasion artillery, and no aircraft to drop us on the beachhead, I lamented, as I put my hand over my face and pounded my knee with my fist. And nobody would sell me 5 parachutes either, something about liability or training or something like that, added Tripper. But I did put 5 camouflaged Rambo headbands on order, and they should be delivered to Ranger Dan's trailer in a week or 2. And what about the paranormal ghost-catching equipment? I asked, without even hoping for any good news. The guys at the computer and electronic repair shop told me that proton generators, electron duplicators, and alternating current flux multipliers didn't exist, replied Jake. They said that whoever sent me to buy them was an idiot. Jake went on to say that he did find a woman by the name of Princess Athena, who could supply the 6 penguin feathers tied together with the sinew of a Japanese white ice monkey, and the 12 pounds of Tyrannosaur's fossils ground to a fine powder and mixed with hot lava from Mount Kilimanjaro, but that she wanted to be part of the ghost-catching part of the mission. It seems that Princess Athena was in communication with most of the ghosts in the area, and, becoming friendly with many of them, she wished to protect their civil rights. Jake went on to suggest that we might make our base of operations his house, which was only a mile from the passageway to the Underdome. Of course, I would need to assess the tactical viability of the suggestion, but considering the downgrading of Fortress Clyde, with some modifications, Jake's notion may have some validity. All right, men, I stood up in my prisoner of war robe. A few setbacks reported today, but tomorrow is a new day. Now today you will do your calisthenics without me, as I'm still on the injured list, still feeling the effects of my struggles with the enemy. Oh, we did our calisthenics this morning, said Larry. Yay, yes, oh yay, interjected Tripper and Jake, speaking at the same time. Sure thing, added Ranger Dan. We don't want to overtrain and lose our edge. To your stations then, I commanded. Carry on.